This class is going to be about embracing your body when it falters and learning what works for you and what feels good for you. And I offer it in this spirit. I have done a few classes on aches and pains and using aches and pains as a message. And this class is offered in a little bit of a different spirit in the idea of embracing those things that maybe don't work in this moment or are unexpected or are not performing the way you'd like them to, and actually allowing that and choosing to see it with kindness and choosing to see it as an opportunity to grow and feel better. And I do see that yoga can really help you feel better. And as I tested this last night to see if I could actually do any yoga in this moment, I felt so much better. And so that's the inspiration for this class. But I also know that many of you are coming with different body parts faltering than perhaps my faltering body parts. And so I want to ensure that all of you choose what works for you and choose to opt in or opt out. And if you end up seated on your mat or doing child's pose the whole time, please do that. And compassion for all of our faltering, and maybe that's not even the kindest word, but body parts that are not functioning optimally in this moment. And so with that, find a comfortable seat on your mat. And if you have a bolster or a blanket, we're going to be seated or lying down for all of the class probably. So something comfortable to sit up on a blanket. You can use blocks, but I have gotten out my trusty bolster for today, knowing I'm going to be sitting on it a lot more than I usually sit on a block. And so as we begin, find the body part for you that is your grounding body part. For me, that's my sit bones. So find those ischial spines and connect them downward underneath wherever you are resting yourself. And tilt your pelvic bowl forward and align your spine all the way up towards the sky. Taking in a long, deep inhale, nourishing every nook and cranny of you with the inhale. And a long, smooth exhale. And just notice how you feel. Taking in another inhale through your nose and an exhale through your mouth. And I invite you to flip your palms open on your thighs if that feels good, and to close your eyes. I'm actually going to do a lot of the practice with my eyes closed because that works better for me in this moment. And for me, it's also easier to listen to my body and listen to what works when my eyes are closed. And so I invite you to try it. No one's watching on Zoom. That's the most beautiful thing about Zoom yoga. And so taking a moment here with your palms open towards the sky, breathing in the light through your nose and the light up through your hands into your heart space. Sending that golden healing light everywhere, wherever it's needed. And exhale, softening into exactly as things are in this moment. Allowing your body to show up exactly as it is today. Honoring it and appreciating it. Noticing that many more things are working than aren't working. And maybe they're even working, but just not optimally. Most humans I know have very high standards for optimal function. And so breathing in that acceptance, letting go of the resistance and judgment and frustration on the out breath. And taking a moment to pause here, noticing if those deep breaths feel good or they feel too much, choosing how much you want to breathe in and out and how far feels good to you. You know, I often talk about breathing in deeply. That may not feel good. And so notice for you what does feel good. Many of us who trained in medicine were trained not to listen and not to notice. And so this practice today is an opportunity to notice and listen what works for you. And if it would feel good, bring a hand to heart and another hand to top. Connecting with your heart space underneath. Noticing perhaps that you have a heart and sending it good wishes. And perhaps sending yourself some kindness for any judgments or frustrations you've sent your own way this week for things that maybe haven't functioned the way you hoped they would, or haven't gone the way that you hoped they would. And sometimes the frustration and resistance is not in your own body, but perhaps it's with someone else. So taking a moment to send those good wishes and kindness to yourself and to others as well. And as you pause here, hand to heart, thinking about what in your body and your life is working right now. What's functioning more easily than it has been? What's not causing problems? Our brains tend to focus on the negative. And so taking a moment here to notice all the body parts that are working beautifully. Perhaps one is not, or more than one, but perhaps most are, sending them love and compassion and kindness and appreciation. And exhaling any judgment and resistance. And taking a moment just to notice how you feel. And I invite you to set an intention for the rest of the practice to be kind. When the judgments pop up, let them go. Choose to practice what feels good, what works, and what makes you feel better. If it makes you feel worse, don't do it. I think we often think we need to do hard things, and yet perhaps we don't. It's possible to move forward with kindness. And very often we get farther faster when we do, moving slow rather than fast. So taking another moment just to let this idea circulate. Notice that perhaps it feels quite uncomfortable or foreign. Perhaps there's judgment about how you've handled it before. Or perhaps you still feel unsure, wondering if your body will do what you want it to do or what you think it can do. Perhaps just sending yourself that compassion and acceptance for what is in this moment, showing up as you are today, knowing that you and your beautiful body, exactly as it is, are in it for the duration. So perhaps decide to be friends and allies and supports. How can you work together to enjoy this one wild and precious life, whatever that might look like this week? And bring your hands to heart center, rubbing your palms together, creating a little warmth and energy. And press your thumbs into your sternum. Finger pads will reach towards the sky, elbows out wide. And take a moment here to connect with that intention. Whatever intention you would like to bring to this practice this morning. And when you're ready, you can lower your hands and open your eyes and take a moment of kindness to adjust to the light and adjust to how you feel. Noticing any spots that are letting you know that they're there. And once again, tilt that pelvic bowl forward and align your spine and sit up nice and tall, gracefully, exactly as you are. And reconnect with that belly to support yourself well. And we'll take our hands by our sides and inhale, reaching them up towards the sky. Interlace your fingers, flip your palms over towards the sky, shimmy your elbows and your waist, reach as tall as you can. That feels good. And a slight arch back. Exhale, round forward and suck your navel back and enjoy that movement in the spine. Inhale, reach tall, coming into a seated cow. enjoying the movement in the spine, and make it as big or little as feels good to you and perhaps your shoulders. Exhale, round forward and suck your navel towards the back. And notice how you might want to do this for you today. I often talk about reaching the crown of your head, and today I'm keeping my head still. And so there's so many options in yoga to explore. So if I offer something and you don't like it, don't do it. Inhale, slight arch back. Open your arms out towards the sides, press your palms into the side walls and pinch your scapula together and enjoy the tightness for a moment. And exhale, release. Lower your arms down by your sides. Scrunch your shoulders up towards your ears. Tilt your occiput back into that cradle if it feels good, and enjoy the tightness for a moment. Exhale, release, and let yourself enjoy for a minute all those tingles. Reach your arms back out towards the sides once again. Wrap them in front. We're going to come into eagle arms if that works for you. You can also do a hug if that feels better. So right elbow under left elbow. Turn your palms towards you and turn your palms close to touching. You can grab your thumbs, whatever works for you. Inhale, raise your elbows to shoulder height and pause there. And just stop here and notice how you feel. Exhale. Inhale, lift up a smidge if that feels good. Exhale, lower your elbows a smidge. Inhale, lift up a smidge and lower down. Tiny movements can have huge impact. Pause here, take your elbows and press them towards the side walls. They're going to press into each other. And you should feel a lot of tension between the scapula. And relax. Once again, press your elbows to the opposite walls and enjoy that tension and relax. If you wish, you can inhale, lift your elbows up and curl down. I'm not going to. So I offer you the chance to decide if that would feel good. Sometimes it feels great, but not for me today. So breathing in through your nose. And if you wish, fold forward, and everyone else can stay upright here if that feels good to you. If you rolled forward, slowly rise back up to neutral. Untangle your arms and stretch them towards the side walls. Take a moment here and pause. Notice how you feel and enjoy it. There'll be lots of sensations coming out all the way to your fingertips. Face your palms towards the floor and just notice how that feels. Lower your fingers towards the floor and notice how that feels. Moving slow. Bring your fingers back to face the side walls. Face them towards the front, and we'll wrap our arms in the opposite direction. Left elbow under right, if that's the opposite of what you did. Your palms will face towards you, then towards one another, and lift your elbows up to shoulder height. Pause there. Take a moment to let your body adjust. Moving slow often has huge impact. So pause here, breathe into all of the tightness in your shoulders. Exhale, release and let it out. Inhale once again into any pockets of tightness, if that feels good, or just stay right here. Breathing in and exhale. Inhale, lift up a smidge, and exhale, down a smidge. Inhale, up a smidge, and exhale, down. Notice that tiny little movements feel even more significant. Press your elbows in opposite directions against one another and enjoy the movement of the sensations in your shoulders. Pausing to notice. And notice here if you'd like your eyes open or closed. It's fascinating what shifts just when you close your eyes, if that feels good to you. Relax the elbows. And for those of you who wish, lift up an inch and roll down and notice how that feels. You can also bring your shoulders down towards your chest with your head up, and that might feel good. So try that too. Slowly rise back up, shoulders to neutral. Untangle your arms and spread them wide towards the sides. Lower your arms down and kindly roll your shoulders in both directions 3 times, loosening any tightness, sending yourself kindness and compassion. Reach those arms up towards the sky once again. Drop your right hand towards the floor. Spread your fingers wide. Press your palm on the earth. Left hip connects towards the earth. Reach that left hand over the left ear and stretch the whole left side body. Breathing into every nook and cranny. Sending the breath everywhere that it feels good. Bathing all yourselves with that kindness and appreciation for all the things that do work here. And notice how you are graceful and elegant, even though we often don't appreciate that. Appreciate it here. One more breath. Exhale, let it out. Reach your right arm up towards the sky. Drop your left hand towards the left side. Spread your fingers wide. Right hip connects to the earth. Whole right side stretches. Bend that left elbow with kindness. And enjoy that right hip here. Breathe into it. Send it a little love. And exhale, let it go. If anything's tight, sending it love with the stretch today, softening into it, appreciating that it's happy to be stretched. Press into that left hand and reach it upright as well. Exhale, drop your shoulders slightly. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, twist gently to the right as far as feels good. Drop your right hand behind you, left hand gently on your left thigh. Inhale, lengthen your spine, arch that back slightly and reach towards the sky and enjoy that spine lengthening. Exhale, gaze gently to the right, whatever feels good to you. And notice here that tiny movements can feel really good. Breathing in, bathing all the cells in the spine. Exhale, release and let it out. Once again, breathing into this tiny little twist. Exhale, let it out. Reach both arms up towards the sky. Exhale, turn back to center. Drop your shoulders. Inhale, reach tall once again. Lengthen your spine and engage your core to protect your back. Exhale, twist slightly to the left. Don't overdo anything today. Drop your hands. Left hand drops behind you in a tent, right hand on the left thigh. Inhale, lengthen the spine and sit up tall. Align each vertebrae one atop the other. Twists are meant to be spine lengtheners. We often get too focused on the twist and not on the lengthen. So inhale, lengthening each vertebrae in each intervertebral space. Exhale, twist a tiny bit and enjoy the sensations and the blood flow and the awakening. Perhaps feeling a little alive if you've been feeling stale and stuck. Exhale, let it out. Reach both arms up towards the sky and turn back to center. Open your arms out, lower them down. We're going to stretch our legs long in front. I'm going to stay up on the bolster. You can do that, or you can lower yourself to the floor. If you're on a block, I would lower yourself to the floor or grab a blanket. Flex your ankles and your toes towards your nose, and your legs will be long in front. Your knees can be bent gently or not. Do what feels good to you. To begin, find your sit bones, tilt your pelvic bowl forward and stack your spine up tall once again. Stretch your toes wide and enjoy your toes, spreading them wide, enjoying the energy coming up through your toes into your legs. Relax your toes. Hinge at the waist, slide your hands down both thighs towards your shins and towards your ankles. Your back is flat and your head is upright. You may not be able to go very far, but enjoy the sensations in the back of the legs, sending the back of the legs kindness and appreciation for all the work that they do. If you wish and it feels good, slide your hands forward, bend your elbows a tiny bit more and enjoy more sensations. If it's not enjoyable, move backwards a little bit. Undo it a little bit. Breathing into every nook and cranny, huge in-breath into your chest. Your heart here is light. It has more room to fill. Drawing your attention to it and allowing it to fill with some of these slow movements and energy shifts. Breathing in the light and the hope and the lack of judgment, the embracing your body and all the things it can do, all the things that do feel good. Breathing in. And exhale, if it would feel good, Slide forward another smidge, sending love to every tight spot in the back of your legs. You may notice your rear end or your lower back, sending them some kindness and compassion too for all of their work. And if they don't feel good because you've been resting more this week, which is in my case, I love to get out and do stuff, send them compassion for that. Sending the energy there, the healing. Slide your hands up your shins to your thighs, upright. You'll bend your right knee and hug that right foot in towards you, giving a little release to the right hip. You can wrap your arms more tightly around that knee if it feels good. Take a moment to find your ischial spines, tilt your pelvic bowl forward and stack your spine all the way up. So you're sitting up tall, tall, tall and gracefully. Huge inhale, sending the release to that right hip. And exhale, let it out. Bring your left hand to the outer edge of your right foot. You'll lift up your right foot and stretch it long in front as far as works for you. And you'll notice a lot of sensations in the outer right hip. You can stay here. You can drop your right hand behind you and sit up tall. I do recommend tilting your pelvic bowl forward and reaching the crown of your head towards the sky wherever you are, rather than rounding and folding into your belly and your back. Notice how it feels. Wiggle your toes if that feels good. You can straighten your knee if that feels good. Some of you will be grabbing your shin. Just don't grab your knee. Be kind to your knee. Enjoy the opening here. Huge in breath and out breath. Bring your foot back towards you. You're going to bring it over to the left side and we're going to do the cradle. You're going to take your left elbow, wrap it around the right foot and wrap your right shin into your arms and have a little rock, sending the breath into the right outer thigh and outer hip. Rocking and appreciating all those sensations. Practicing embracing whatever works for you. Honoring what your body can do, what feels good. I had someone I was coaching yesterday who mentioned that she was feeling terrible, that it was hard to tie her shoes now, and that it was uncomfortable. And the thought is, befriend yourself and realize that maybe that's an indication you want to make a change, or maybe that's a message about something that needs attention or you need more care. So rather than being mad at yourself when something isn't functioning the way you think it should, kindness is really the solution to the creative answers, or get some slip-on shoes that don't need ties. Gently release your foot, lower it down to the earth, stretch both legs long in front, move the flesh of your seat out of the way, hinge at the waist once again and slide forward gently to even out your hips. Perhaps point your toes and enjoy the shins, something we don't pay much attention to. And flex your toes and ankles towards your nose and enjoy the backs of the legs once again. Slide back up your shins to your thighs. Hug your left knee in towards you. Your left heel will come as close to your rear end as you can, sitting up nice and tall on your sit bones. Wrap your arms around the left shin and hug it in so the hip releases. You can lift up onto your tiptoe. If you're sitting up on something, you might have to hug this in. And enjoy that release in the hip. You can rock a little bit here, hugging it in as tight as it will go. And if anything is in the way, just love on that too. It's all part of you on this journey for right now. Take your right hand, grab the outer edge of the left foot and stretch your left leg long. Awaken the outer edge of that left leg with kindness. Left hand comes behind you, tense behind you. And if it feels good, you can gaze towards the left shoulder. If it doesn't, stay gazing towards the front. Enjoy your toes for a minute. You can wiggle them and notice what happens when you do. And also draw your attention to your belly. Sit up tall, round your pelvic bowl tall and straight, reaching towards the sky. Rebend the left knee. Bring your left foot into the right inner elbow. Cradle that foot and give it a nice rock and a hug. Enjoy it. Have a little fun with it. You can also notice the spot between your scapula here as you rock, and send it some love as well. And use your belly. Don't just sink in and fall. Engage your belly to take good care of your back and everything else. Notice your right toes, reach them towards the sky if they've gone all wonky. Right leg is engaged. Release that left leg, spread it long, stretch it long. Move the flesh of your seat once again. Take a moment to sit up tall. Stretch your legs as wide as you can here. Wide, 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 wide angle pose. You're going to tilt your pelvis forward. If you're sitting on a block or a bolster, come right to the front edge. It feels amazing. It'll tilt you right off and you'll have some different sensations. Your ankles are flexed. Your toes are directly in line with your knees. Your pelvic bowl is tilting forward and your chest is puffing out front. You may want to bring your hands behind you, tense them, lift your hips up and move them forward a smidge as well. Take your two hands, place them in between you and walk forward gently. Head can stay up if that feels good, or you can roll forward, whatever feels good to you. Palms on the earth, and your arms can be straight or bent. Notice what feels good and allow it and enjoy it without judgment. You can point your toes and notice what changes, and flex your ankles, notice what changes. See if you can walk your hands forward a tiny bit more, sending breath into all the pockets of tightness. Appreciating that the tightness is there because they haven't had any attention recently. So send them attention and love. Huge breath in. Use the breath to soften that tightness rather than resist it. Exhale, bend your elbows and fold forward a smidge more. Walk your hands back towards your groin. Take your right hand, slide it down your right shin, reach your left arm over your left ear and lengthen the whole left side body, breathing into it. Draw your left shoulder back an inch or two, and if it feels good, you can gaze up towards your left hand. If it doesn't, gaze towards your right foot. Either one is fine. Different pockets around the waist will open up here. Sending the breath there. Bathing every nook and cranny with a little bit of energy and light. Visualize it, embracing what's there and all the things that it does well. You can bend that right elbow if that allows you to find some more pockets that need attention. Breathing in and exhale out. Slide back upright, reach both arms up towards the sky. You'll slide your left hand down to your left thigh, right hip and right side body open up, and breathe into the waist and any tightness there. You can lower the left elbow towards the shin if that feels good, breathing into it and out. Exhale and enjoy it. If you want to gaze over the right shoulder or tuck the right shoulder back, notice if that feels good or not. And if it doesn't feel good, your work is to not judge it. It's not better or worse. It's just a different spot of the waist. Getting the breath and the energy and the movement. Point your toes here and flex them. Notice the slight shifts. Once again, tiny movements can create huge shifts. Slowly slide up that left thigh. Reach both arms up towards the sky. Open your arms out towards the side, and you'll draw your feet together. If you wish to come off your bolster, you can do that. Bring your feet together, knees apart. We're going to come into butterfly pose. Find your sit bones and rock on them. Draw your heels in towards you. Your arms will, your hands, will reach towards your ankles. Bring your elbows around your chest. It's often in the way. Tilt your pelvic bowl forward and stack that spine up nice and tall and elegantly aligned, reaching the crown of the head towards the sky, and draw your heels in towards your knees apart. Huge inhale, tilt the pelvic bowl forward gently. And exhale, if it feels good, lower your knees. It doesn't have to feel good. So you can stay upright if that feels good. You can also have a huge diamond if that feels good. Again, this is a practice of knowing what works for you. One more breath here. Exhale, let it out. One more big inhale here. And exhale, let it out. Slowly release your hands. Stretch your legs long in front. We're going to sweep our legs around and actually come to lying on your belly here. So roll over onto your belly. Your elbows, we're going to come into Sphinx pose. So notice your elbows will be directly under your shoulders, palms on the earth, all fingers spread wide, forearms on the floor. Notice the front of your hips and the tops of your feet. Inhale, lift your spine up, heart shines forward, and send the breath and the love into the lower back here. Breathing in through your nose, pouring in the breath all the way down into the front of your belly, which may be stretching. And exhale long and smooth all the way up through the spine, out through your mouth. Once again, inhale into every muscle fiber in that lower back, sending it kindness and appreciation for all that it does, often ignored. Notice if your weight can be totally out of your hands. Arch the spine a tiny bit more if it feels good, reaching the crown of your head towards the sky, gazes forward, breathing into your heart. Heart is open here. Exhale, shining your heart forward, appreciating all that your body can do here. All that your lower back and belly and core do for you. One more deep breath into every nook and cranny here that might be tender. Bathing it with appreciation. And we'll curl our toes and come back into child's pose. Find a child's pose that works for you. This might take a minute. You may want your knees together. You may want your knees apart, toes together. You may want your hands to reach far, far forward. And you may need something like a block or a bolster under your forehead if you don't want to dump your head down low. Notice what feels good and notice if you want to keep your head a little bit up or on the floor. And take a moment here in quiet to listen. Three long, smooth, deep breaths, listening to any messages that come. And if there's judgment or frustration, perhaps with intention, soften into it. Remembering that there is still so much that does feel good and so much that is good. Not in a Pollyanna way, but just in a friendship way. With the idea that you and your body are in it together for the duration. So you might as well appreciate what works, honor what works, do things that feel good, and enjoy the journey, whatever it looks like. Readjust your child's pose if something is feeling tight or funky or wants more stretch or less stretch. Pausing to listen. Remembering that we were generally taught not to pause and listen, so it sometimes is uncomfortable. Two more huge breaths here. And one more deep in breath. And we'll slowly rise up from child's pose to a seat. Just walk your hands. For any of you that came late, this isn't my usual class. It's going to be all gentle yoga. So we won't be standing. We're going to just switch right here to hero's pose. If you have a block, you can grab it and bring it underneath your rear end. If you don't, you'll slide your feet out a little bit, tops of the feet on the floor. And you'll lower your rear end towards the block, towards the floor, whatever works for your knees. Some of you may need 3 blocks, or if you have difficult knees, you can just stay up here in more of a camel pose. Taking a moment here to open the heart space and appreciate the hero concept, which is what inspired me to include this today, realizing that sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for being a hero. And as Charlie Mackesy, one of my favorite authors, says, that some days getting up and carrying on is magnificent and heroic. And so taking a moment here to enjoy the stretch in the front of the thighs, the tops of the feet, tilt your pelvic bowl forward, align your spine. Your heart is light towards the front. You can take your 2 hands and reclasp them at the sacrum, press them towards the floor, and drop your shoulders down and back. Open your chest here if it works for you. And if this doesn't work, you can stay up on your knees, or you can stay in child's pose. Just notice what feels good to you. Huge drink of breath in, the whole open heart chest, pouring it down, that golden light, all the way through your belly, down through your knees to your feet, envisioning it there. One more huge drink of breath here. And exhale, stretch your fingers towards the floor, heart is open. And we will come out of hero's pose in the most elegant way that works for you, sweeping your feet around and long in front once again. And we're going to come down to lying down. And you can do that in whatever way feels good to you. If you want to roll down slowly and unroll your spine, your legs and arms can be parallel. You'll engage your belly and you roll down all the way to the earth. Taking a moment when you arrive to notice how you feel, to readjust, and to listen. Pausing to listen is one of the key things that most of us don't do. It only takes a moment. And being kind. If there's a spot on your head that doesn't feel good when it touches the floor, rearrange it. Rearrange your sacrum, the triangular bone, having it be flat on the floor. Palms can be open towards the sky. And take a moment here to notice and listen. Reach both arms up towards the sky in parallel. Your palms will face one another. Reach your fingertips tall, tall, tall towards the sky. Lower the humeral heads into the shoulders socket and pause here for a moment, aligning, breathing. Huge breath right into the spot behind your navel. Exhale, lower your arms above you if that's kind to your shoulders, reaching long in either direction. Huge inhale into every nook and cranny. Stretch your belly, stretch your toes, stretch your fingers. Reach long, long, long. Align everything on the inhale. And exhale, release. Take your right thumb and middle finger, grab your left wrist, walk your right ankle to the right side of the mat. Bring your left ankle atop the right and tug the left wrist towards the right, coming into a banana or a half moon shape, sending breath into every nook and cranny of the left side body today. Appreciating all those tiny muscle fibers and what they do to keep you upright most of the time. And appreciating that they do their job really well 99.9% of the time. Breathing into every nook and cranny. Tug that left wrist towards the right a tiny bit more. Enjoy the opening. Exhale, bring your hands back to center. Uncross your feet. Walk your feet to the left side. Right ankle atop the left ankle. Left thumb and middle finger grab the right wrist and tug that right wrist towards the left. Banana shape, enjoying the whole right side body here. Breathe into it. Exhale, release. One more breath. Open every nook and cranny and send appreciation to every muscle fiber, small pocket of your body that does a lot of work for you. Perhaps embrace it. One more breath. Coming back to center. Release your arms down by your sides. Uncross your feet, bring them back to center. Bring your right knee, hug it in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around your right shin. Inhale, squeeze it tight in towards your belly. Exhale, release the right hip socket towards the, laterally. Huge inhale, bathing that right hip with the breath. Exhale, let it out. If it feels good, straight your right leg towards the sky. Bring your hands to your hamstring. Draw your right leg towards you. Your right heel presses into the sky. Move your chest out of the way if needed. Bring your toes towards your knee and your nose, enjoying all the sensations in the back of that right thigh once again. Press your hamstring into your hands. You may notice a little shaking and enjoy it. All those sensations, waking up. Point your right toe towards the sky and appreciate your shin. All the work that your legs do when you walk around. Bring your toes towards your nose. Appreciate the thigh and the back of the legs. Press your hamstring into your hands. Reach your toe towards the sky. Perhaps roll your ankle in one direction and then the other. Noticing the sensations. Going slow enough today to notice new things. And pause. Gently bend your knee, release your hands, and lower your right leg alongside the left. Take a moment and notice the difference between the two sides. Draw your left knee in towards you. Give it a huge hug. Squeeze it tight. Exhale, let the hips sink laterally into the hip socket. Inhale, hug it tight. Exhale, release, let it sink laterally into the hip socket. Straight the left leg towards the sky. Hands will come to your hamstring. Point your toes towards your nose and just appreciate all of that sensations. Embracing it. Exhale, point your toe towards the sky and appreciate your shin and perhaps your left pinky toes and fourth toe. Flex your ankle, toes come towards your nose. Press your hamstring into your hands. Slow movements here, big shifts. Press your heel towards the sky. You may notice shaking. Point your toe. Bend the knee. Stretch the leg alongside the other and take a moment to enjoy. Bend your knees towards you. Bend your knees, bring your heels towards you. Take your right ankle, place it atop the left knee. Interlace your hands, wrap them around the left thigh and hug your knee in towards you, coming into a figure four. If that doesn't work, keep your feet on the floor and press your right hand into your right knee. Again, only do what feels good to you. That's the point of yoga, is to learn that and practice that. And sometimes we think things that feel bad accomplish more. Things that feel good accomplish more. Flex your ankles. Bring your right elbow into your right knee. In yoga, at least. And enjoy. Huge breath into the right hip here. If you wish to bring your hands to your shin and hug it in tighter, you can do that as well. Do what feels kind. And notice if you want your eyes open or closed. Notice the difference. Release your hand from your thigh, lower the left foot to the floor, raise your arms above you in a cactus shape or a T, or if you have bum shoulders or shoulders that are cranky, I love that word, bring your hands to either side of your hips. We're gonna drop the knees towards the left. Right sole of the foot lands on the earth, outer edge of the left knee, it lands on the earth into an easy twist. And for the twist, your hands have all those options, cactus, T, or by your sides. Your head also has options. So some days you want to keep your head straight. That's what I'm doing today. But for some of you, you want to gaze to the right, realizing that there are so many options. And a huge piece of yoga and life is to choose the option that works for you. One is not better than the other. It's to trust yourself. Breathing into wherever you are. Exhale, let it out. One more breath here. Slowly bring your knees back to center. You'll untangle them. Recross in the opposite direction, left ankle over right knee. Thread your hands through around the back of the right thigh and hug the right knee in. Left elbow gently presses into the left knee if that feels good. Ankles are flexed, toes reach towards the sky. And enjoy this in whatever form yours looks. Right foot could be on the earth. You may have your hands around the shin, and it may be very different than it was on the other side. It doesn't matter. Do what feels good. If you can learn to move through doing things that feel good and are good for you. So not doing things that feel good in the short term, but are not good in the long term, but things that feel good in the short term and are good in the long term. Trusting yourself to know what's actually good for you. I think that almost all of us know. We're just not sure if it's right or it's okay, or we don't give ourselves permission. So allow yourself this opportunity of knowing, listening and learning, and maybe you won't always get it right. Release your hands from your thigh, lower your foot to the floor, bring your arms in whatever space feels good to you, cactus, T, or by your side. Drop your left foot to the right, coming into a figure 4 twist. And enjoy whatever your version is here. 3 deep breaths. We'll bring our feet back to center. Untangle your knees. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart, and bring your hands, one hand to heart, one hand to belly, if that feels good to your shoulder. If your shoulders don't like that, do what works for you. You may like 2 hands to belly. You may like hands on the floor. You may like blocks under your knees. Notice what feels good and pause here in reclining butterfly, a most restorative, nourishing pose. And let yourself restore and replenish. And realizing that in some of these journeys where our bodies falter, there's lots of learning and beautiful things that happen as well. And this week, while I was waiting to get a CT scan in the hall, I ran into someone who joined me for Connect in Nature last year. And what she told me was that the restorative poses that I had taught her there, she had been practicing 3 of them every night since, and that they had changed her life, and that now her son was practicing them too. And I'm guessing that this is one of the ones she's practicing. And so in that moment where I was very unhappy to be there, having to do that, it was this beautiful gift that I wouldn't have gotten had I not been there. And so allowing yourself to be open to all the beautiful things that can happen, embracing who you are and where you end up, knowing there's some higher power there, bringing you there for some learning or some gift. Perhaps softening into that. I think many of us resist that idea. And yet we sometimes miss those beautiful gifts when we do. So taking in a breath into that heart space that is perhaps under one of your hands.
Softening into this idea of accepting you as you are in this moment, and exhale, let it out. And if it would feel good, bring your hands to your outer thighs and draw your knees together. We're going to come into a Shavasana, and you can do it with a bolster under your knees or with minimalist with nothing. Bring your legs long in front, allow them to fall to the outer edge of the mat and your toes to fall outward. I invite you to try palms open at your sides. And just notice how you feel here. Taking in an in-breath, sending kindness to every nook and cranny, an appreciation for all that your body did today. Noticing that it likely feels better than when you began. Huge exhale, softening in and relaxing, letting the earth hold you, letting your body breathe for itself. Perhaps a light wiggle of the fingers and the toes as you drop in to a few moments of peace and restoration. Anyone who wishes to stay in Shavasana longer, please do. It's one of the beautiful things about Zoom yoga. And also, if you're finding it a little more challenging as we moved less today, I invite you to try staying a little longer and just realize that sometimes it's harder to relax in when you haven't moved as much. That's the work of softening in and inviting a little bit of that discomfort and learning to soften and relax even with. For those of you who are ready to come out, deepen your breath gently, little by little, to a spot that feels good. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And if it feels good, stretch long in either direction. Huge inhale of the nice, kind, accepting breath. Hope, ease. Exhale, release. And roll over to one side and pause. I know some people like to roll right up. You can do whatever feels good, but I invite you to take the pause on the way up. Allow your body to recalibrate. And also, it's a way of integrating the work. Pausing and noticing how you feel, not rushing to the end or the next pose. Taking in a breath of appreciation and letting your body settle and notice how you feel. Perhaps setting an intention to carry a little bit of that forth with you into your day. And press your hands into the floor and slowly rise up to a comfortable seat where we began. Reconnect your ischial spine, sit bones into the earth. Tilt your pelvic bowl forward and sit up tall but comfortable. Don't overdo it. And when you arrive, take a moment to adjust, to adapt. Place your hands on your thighs, palms open once again, inviting the light and the hope and the perspective in through your hands. Taking in an inhale through your nose and an exhale, let it out. Bring a hand to heart and another hand to top, sending yourself kindness and compassion for exactly where you are today.
acceptance of exactly what your body is doing in this moment. Choosing with intention to befriend it for the journey, work with it, embrace it, figure out the supports and adaptations that it needs, and remembering all the amazing things that it does rather than focusing on where it may have not shown up optimally recently. Taking an in-breath of kindness, appreciation, and acceptance. Exhaling any final bits of resistance and judgment, blowing them away. Thank you all so much for practicing with me today. May you all take exceptional care of your bodies this week, appreciating all that they can do, noticing all the things that feel good. May you all be well. May you all be safe. May you all care for yourselves well. And I will see you next week.